Hi, my name is Rusna, and today I'm going to share with you 5 simple tips to help you discover your career path. It might seem that some people are born knowing what they're good at and what they want to do in their lives. But actually, for the majority, it's something that we need to discover. So to help you do that, I'm going to give 5 actionable tips. Here they are. Write down 100 dreams, try online tests, answer 3 questions, notice your energy, and experiment. Before we begin, I'd like to mention 2 important things. There isn't one thing that you're meant to do. It might sound like bad news, but it isn't. You are a complex being capable of many different things. So it's not helpful to think that you were born with a future job title that's just hidden somewhere and all you have to do is dig enough holes to find it. The one and only thing that you are meant to do. What you should look for are things that you enjoy. Just general guidelines, things like, for example, I like it when I solve problems for people, or I really enjoy using technology to do tasks, or I love it when I get to share my message with people. So things like that. The second thing to remember is that your path won't be linear. It already isn't. It will curve and change, and maybe it will even take you back to where you started 5 years ago. Life is not constant, and as people, we grow and change too. So it's okay to explore and try different things, to change careers if you feel that it's the right step for you. So now, to help you find some of these answers, here are the tips. Tip number 1, 100 dreams. Start simple. Try not to expect to find specific answers right away. Instead, try an exercise called 100 dreams. What you have to do is just grab a cup of coffee or tea, have a seat somewhere comfortable, and write down 100 of your dreams. It may sound very simple, but believe me, after you hit 30 or 40, you might start feeling anxious because you run out of ideas. If it happens, that's great. It means it's working. That's where your creativity might begin. So the important thing is not to give up until you reach 100. This exercise is great because it will help you break out of your usual thought patterns, fears, or even perceived limitations. Just make sure to push through. Remember, you're doing this for you. Once you complete it, leave your list be. Come back to it at another time, perhaps the next day. Then, read through it and look for patterns, similarities, perhaps some categories. Those might be your clues for what you might enjoy doing in life. Tip number 2, try online tests. Let's face it, online tests are fun, and taking a test while you're exploring your career interests might be a good idea. Some tests are based on personality theories like Big 5 or Myers-Briggs, while career aptitude tests often follow Holland's theory. So, if you search for some of these keywords or things like personality test, career aptitude test, or similar, I'm sure you'll find free as well as paid versions of these tests. One thing to note is that when you complete a test and get your profile, make sure that you take it with a grain of salt. An online test cannot predict your future. You might really want it to, but humans are way too complex for that. Even so, your test results might give you ideas for what you might want to explore as a career option. Tip number 3, answer some questions. Write down your answers to these 3 questions. Number 1, if there were no limitations such as money, age, time, or others, what would you do? Let your mind wander and explore even the silliest ideas. The second question is, what do you spend most of your free time on? Maybe you're a gamer or a passionate florist. And the last question, what would your friends come to you for? Perhaps your IT skills. Maybe you can explain physics. Maybe you give great advice. All these answers might lead to uncovering your natural abilities or interests. But remember, just because you like doing something, it doesn't mean that your future career should be exactly that. For instance, if you love giving people advice, you don't have to become a business or other kind of advisor, but sharing your knowledge with others is an element that you would likely enjoy, so it should be part of your job. Tip number 4, notice your energy. I think that words like passion and purpose, when we talk about careers, are a bit overused. They impose a heavy burden on a lot of young people because finding this huge and important answer when you're basically still a kid is near impossible. I think it's much better to pay attention to the word energy. So do things that naturally energize you, things that make you feel excited even when that thing you love doing is hard. Do the things that make you feel alive. And don't be scared if over time you notice that those things change for you. So remember, in this case, it's not a person, a place, or a thing. It's a feeling of being energized that you should focus on. If it's making a difference, figure out how to make a difference. If it's creating the fastest car in the world, then go and find the team to work on this. Tip number 5, experiment. You don't need to decide on such a big decision like your one and only job or title. It's not like choosing your future spouse. The only thing that you do need to think about and decide is what's the next thing you want to try based on your interests and answers to the previous steps. Perhaps it's an internship in a marketing firm, or maybe volunteering at a fundraiser. It could simply be a new job position in a different career path, or a startup, or a Etsy store, or whatever else. Whatever your choice will be, or the one after, remember that the time spent exploring your path now is much more time saved later. Unfortunately, people tend to rush through this stage thinking that 20s are for pushing yourself and for building your career. And it might be, but if you're unsure what it is that you like doing, then skipping the exploration stage might cost you a lot of time, energy, and stress later. If you follow these tips, you'll find yourself going through the process of self-discovery or learning more about yourself, discovering your options, and choosing the next thing you want to try. Of course, there's not one recipe to discover your career path, but it's one that helped me and many others. If you're a student, know that you can always turn to your career advisor who can help you to go through these steps. If that's not an option, there are private career coaches who can help you too. Don't rush, remember that it's a journey, and be kind to yourself while you go through it. All the best!